Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Jean Hersholdt in an episode of Dr. Christian as it was broadcast 85 years ago today, March 13th, 1938, and the Racket in Milk in River's End. And we thank you for tuning in on this Monday. This is the 13th day of March. Yes, Friday the 13th came on a Monday this month. The 72nd day of the year. We have 293 days remaining until we get to 2024. William Herschel discovered the planet Uranus on this date in 1781. I'm not going to call it Uranus because, 1862, the federal government forbade all Union Army soldiers from returning fugitive slaves, thus effectively annulling the Fugitive Slave Law in 1850 and setting the stage for the Emancipation Proclamation. The Confederate States of America reluctantly agreed to the use of African American troops in 1865. They were running out of men. The news of the discovery of Pluto telegraphed to the Harvard College Observatory in 1930, and in 1933 banks in the U.S. began to reopen at the presidentially mandated bank holiday, which helped keep the economy kind of on an even keel for a while. FBI arrested Jimmy Hoffa on this date in 1957, charged him with bribery. In 1961, President Kennedy welcomed Latin American leaders to the White House to call for economic cooperation.
I have called on all people of the hemisphere to join in a new alliance for progress, Alianza para Progreso, a vast cooperative effort, unparalleled in magnitude and nobility of purpose, to satisfy the basic needs of the American people for homes, work, and land, health, and schools, techo, trabajo, y tierra, salud y escuela.
And the grand scheme had mixed results, but it was at least an effort. In 1964, a young woman, Kitty Genovese, murdered in front of multiple witnesses who all failed to help her in an incident which shocked the world and prompted investigation into the bystander effect. 1965, President Johnson discussed the riots in Selma, Alabama, and a conversation he had with the state's governor.
I met today with Governor Wallace of Alabama to discuss very thoroughly the situation that exists in that state. The governor expressed his concern that the demonstrations which have taken place are a threat to the peace and security of the people of Alabama. I expressed my own concern about the need for remedying those grievances which lead to the demonstrations by people who feel their rights have been denied.
Later in the press conference, President Johnson affirmed the right of people to peacefully protest, but agreed that people do not have the right to yell fire in a crowded theater. 1991, the Justice Department announced Exxon agreed to pay $1 billion for the cleanup of the Exxon Valdez oil spill. 1992, Warren Beatty and Annette Bening tied the knot on this date after meeting and starring in the motion picture Bugsy.
The way you were staring at me, I thought you were going to ask me for something a little more exciting.
Like what?
Use your imagination.
I'm using it.
Let me know when you're finished.
After the movie wrapped, Bening became pregnant with the couple's first child, born January 8th of 1992, and they married on this date 2 months later. 2013, Pope Francis elected in the papal conference at the 266th Pope of the Catholic Church. Passing away on this date in history, President Benjamin Harrison, President 23, Susan B. Anthony, Attorney Clarence Darrow, actress Maureen Stapleton, Press Your Luck host Peter Tamarkin, pro wrestler and manager Arnold Skolin, probably best remembered as a manager, wrestler Test, also boxer Marvelous Marvin Hagler, and passing away last year on this date, actor William Hurt. This is the birth date of a gentleman famous for his tea, Earl Grey, the Prime Minister of the UK. Also First Lady Abigail Fillmore. Sammy Kaye, Swing and Sway with Sammy Kaye, fine musician. And science fiction author, the founder of Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard. His real name was John Larkin, but you knew him as Scatman John. Had quite a few hits. Born on this date in 1942. And Rerun, Fred Berry, best remembered for What's Happening. He was born on this date in history as well. Cartoonist Al Jaffe of Mad Magazine, 102 years old today. Donald Duck, 89 years old today. Yeah, I know. Because if he was alive, that'd be some awfully tough duck. Singer-songwriter Neil Sedaka, who had a wonderful career in the 60s and then again in the 70s. Neil Sedaka, 84 today. From Fargo and Shameless, William H. Macy, 73. From China Beach, Dana Delaney, 67. From The X-Files and West Wing, Annabeth Gish is 52. From That 70s Show, Danny Masterson, 47. From Shameless and Twilight, Noel Fisher, 39. And from Into the Wild, Emil Hirsch is 38. Those just a few of the people who celebrate the 13th day of March as their birthday. If this happens to be your birthday...
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
A Mrs. Miller Monday. And we go back to Sunday, March 13th, 1938, 85 years ago on this Monday edition of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox for an episode of Dr. Christian starring Jean Hersholdt. And that comes up next following these important messages from your favorite station. And now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on this Monday, an episode of Dr. Christian, starring the man who was behind a lot of the humanitarian aid for retired and disabled actors, Jean Hersholdt. That's why in the in the Oscar Awards, they have the Jean Hersholdt Humanitarian Award, because Hersholdt did a lot to help in the founding of the hospital, quite frankly, the Actors Home. That's what it was. So now let's get to this. March 13th, 1938, Dr. Christian on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
From Hollywood, California, we bring you Chapter 19 in the story of Paul Christian, the Doctor of River's End, which stars Jean Hersholdt in the title role and is presented every Sunday afternoon for your enjoyment by the Cheesebro Manufacturing Company, owners of the trademark Vaseline. The past week in Hollywood has marked the 25th screen anniversary of our star, Jean Hersholdt. To commemorate this notable achievement, the makers of Vaseline preparations published a book of still pictures taken from the famous motion pictures in which Jean Hersholdt has played. The book is called Jean Hersholdt's Album of Hollywood Stars because it is filled with unusual pictures of your screen favorites. And here is Jean Hersholdt himself.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I could have received no greater present on this anniversary than the public response which we received to the offer of my Album of Hollywood Stars. I take it not only as an interest in the album itself, but also in my screen work over the past 25 years. And for that I wish to thank all of you and the Cheesebro Manufacturing Company who made this album possible.
The pictures in Jean Hersholdt's Album of Hollywood Stars really are priceless. But thanks to the generosity of our star and our sponsor, the makers of Vaseline products, anyone can secure the book by sending 10 cents to cover the cost of preparation and postage. With the album goes a first aid chart prepared for you by Dr. Shirley Wynn, former health commissioner of New York City. Address your request for the album and chart to Vaseline Products, 17 State Street, New York. And be sure to write your own name and address clearly in your letter. This album offer will not be made again, so if you've put off writing for it, get your request in today. And so to our story of Dr. Christian, as played by Jean Hersholdt. Last week, you will recall, we left Dr. Christian in the hands of two strangers who had pursued him to the lonely farm home of a patient. There have been mysterious happenings in River's End for some weeks, where an attempt is being made to organize the dairy farmers into a group called the Farmers Protective Organization. Dairymen who refuse to join have had their delivery trucks wrecked. One driver even was killed, and a local boy, Bob Marvin, is awaiting trial as the killer. Dr. Christian suspects there is more behind the organization than appears on the surface, and evidently there is foundation for his opinion, because they are making every effort to keep him from testifying at the Marvin trial. As the scene opens, we find the doctor in the car of the strangers. In the front seat is the driver, in the back the other man, and Dr. Christian, who has been blindfolded.
Hey, watch what you're doing. You drove right through that streetcar safety zone. You want to get us picked up?
What's the difference? There ain't no traffic cops around at this time of the morning. It's only 5 o'clock.
So we are in the city now.
Yeah? How do you know?
Well, it was 3 o'clock when we left River's End. So we've been driving 2 hours. Just about time to get to the city. Besides, you mentioned streetcars and safety zones.
Smart guy, huh?
What are you going to do with me?
You're so good at guessing where you are. Guess what we're going to do.
I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to...
Shut up, Mac.
You know this is kidnapping, don't you? And there are some rather unpleasant laws dealing with kidnapping.
They're going to have to catch us first.
Well, that won't be difficult. As soon as they discover I'm gone and find my car outside of Henry Tuttle's house, they'll start looking for me.
Maybe we're dumb, but not that dumb. Your car isn't parked outside of Henry Tuttle's house. Mac took care of that.
Yeah. It'll be a long time before they find your car.
Well, at least they'll discover I've disappeared.
They'll think you've taken your car and gone someplace, that's all.
Well, that might be true any other time, but not today. Too many people know I plan to be in court at Bob Marvel's trial. I'm a witness. When I don't show up, the court itself will start searching for me.
So what? They ain't gonna get us. If they do, it'll be all fixed. You ain't in the hands of any 5 and 10 cent store mob. This is the biggest outfit in the country. Before we're through, we'll be running the whole USA.
Shut up, man.
Yep, the whole USA. We're taking it over, see? And the fellow at the head of this racket's so smart he can fix anything.
I said shut up.
Okay.
I don't think he's big enough to fix the anti-kidnapping laws. You two are taking chances of being hanged.
You're doing a lot of worrying about us.
I'm not worrying about you at all. Only you're very foolish to take such a risk simply to stop me from testifying at Bob Marvin's trial. Especially as it isn't going to do you any good.
What do you mean it ain't going to do us no good?
Bob Marvin is being defended by James Benson Clark, one of the most capable lawyers in the state. What's more, Clark knows as much about the racket as I do. You kidnapped the wrong man.
Hey, wait a minute. Maybe...
Shut up, Mac. You talk too much.
You're going through a lot of trouble to pin that manslaughter charge on Bob Marvin. A lot of trouble to keep me out of the witness chair. You've made a very bad mistake.
We haven't made any mistakes. All right. We're here. Crawl out of the car. And don't try to touch that blindfold. Help me, Mac.
Where are you taking me?
Never mind. Just walk straight ahead. Slow. Take it easy. There's no hurry. Step up. One more step. Now, straight ahead. Through this door. Now, straight ahead. Close the door, Mac, and shoot the bolt. Well, you can take that blindfold off now, Doc.
Sure. Have a look around. This isn't much of a joint, but you won't be here long. As soon as we get word from the top, we're going to...
Never mind the conversation.
Look here. I don't know what you're planning to do with me, but you won't get away with it. You haven't a chance. I'll make a bargain with you. There's still time for me to get back to the trial. Let me go and I'll forget all about this.
Say, you hand me a laugh.
It isn't going to do you any good to hold me. You're taking a risk all for nothing.
Put him in that room there, Mac.
Come on, you. Take a little rest in there for a while. So long, Doc. Be seeing you.
Lock the door, Mac.
sure he can't get out of the window? Maybe I better stay there and watch him.
That window's boarded up so tight he couldn't get out with a set of burglar tools. He'll be okay. Then we can take a gander at him every once in a while.
Well, I guess there's nothing to do but hang around and wait till we get word from the chief. It's kind of a long day. Wish I'd brought some magazine.
I didn't know you could read.
Sure I can read. I went to school once.
Well, that's what I figured. Once.
Say, can you imagine that dumb guy trying to talk us into letting him go?
Maybe he's not so dumb at that. The more I think of it... Hey, what's that? Keep quiet.
It's somebody at the door.
Don't you suppose I know it? It's someone who's got the wrong house. They'll go away when they think there's no one here.
Yeah, but they'll know somebody's here because the car's parked outside.
You would leave the car there. Why didn't you put it in the garage?
I didn't have time. I was figuring.
Keep quiet.
They ain't gonna go away.
No. And if we don't answer, it'll look suspicious. We've got to put up some kind of a bluff and get rid of them. You stand back there and have your gas handy. Keep it out of sight, but have it handy.
What are you gonna do?
I'm going to open the door.
Now let us pick up the threads of our Dr. Christian story. The doctor is in the hands of kidnappers, bent on keeping him from telling what he knows about the milk racket in River's End. He's been locked up in a room in the strange house. In the room adjoining, his kidnappers are waiting instructions when there comes a knock on the outside door.
All right, Mac. Keep the doorway covered. Moran, what do you want?
Let me in. Let me in and close the door.
Hey, look. Somebody's drilled him.
Yeah, a milk truck driver. He had a gun on him, and after I rammed into him, he let me have it. Preston, you gotta get me to a doctor.
Where did you leave your truck?
On the road. I couldn't drive it.
Poor sap. Don't you know they'll find it there? Trace down the license?
I couldn't help it. I couldn't drive it, I tell you. I'm hurt, Preston. Hurt bad. I gotta have a doctor.
Why didn't you find a doctor for yourself? Why did you come here?
Well, there's no doctor's offices open at this time of the morning. I couldn't go around looking for one. Bleeding this way. The cops have picked me up.
We can't take you to a doctor, and we can't bring one here.
You gotta, Preston. I'm hurt.
Hey, what's the matter with you, Preston? That guy in there's a doctor.
What guy? Is there some...
I wish you'd keep your mouth shut, Mac. It's all right, Moran. Come on. We've got a doctor right in the house here. Unlock the doc's door, Mac. We'll take Moran in there. Got a patient here for you, Doc.
Why, he's wounded.
Yeah, somebody took a shot at him.
Will you shut up? Take your coat off, Moran.
Lord, it burns.
Here, let me help you. I had a kit when I left Henry Tuttle's house.
It's in the car. Go get it, Mac. And Mac.
Yeah?
Lock the car in the garage.
Okay.
Sit down here on the edge of the bed. I'd better take your shirt off, too. Now, just lie back on the bed. Lie right down. Put your feet up. Oh, that bulb in the ceiling doesn't give me much light. Haven't you a floor lamp or something?
That's the best we can do.
Well, you might bring me some water.
I'll get it as soon as Mac comes back.
Can't you hurry? Do something, Doc. Burns like fire.
Now, see if you can relax a little. Let me have a look at it.
Oh.
You think he can be patched up?
Yes, but not here. Apparently the bullet has missed his lungs and lodged in his back. We'll have to probe for it. He'll need an anti-tetanus injection. And we've got to stop that bleeding.
Can't you do that here?
No, I haven't the implements. And I haven't any anti-tetanus. He'll have to go to a hospital.
A hospital?
Right away. We'd better phone for an ambulance.
What are you trying to tell me? I can't have an ambulance coming out here with reporters maybe and cops.
But we've got to get him to a hospital.
He doesn't look so bad to me. Bandage him up. He'll be all right.
If he isn't given proper treatment very soon, he'll bleed to death.
Bleed to death? Bleed to death?
You can't work a gag like that on me. You know what would happen if I called an ambulance. I'd have to let you go. Well, if that's what you're figuring on, you can forget it.
I'm simply telling you the man's condition is serious. If you don't want to call an ambulance, take him to a hospital in your car.
I'll leave you alone here, huh?
The two of you. One can stay here with me.
And what's going to happen when I get to the hospital and they start asking me questions? What am I going to say? That I picked him up on the street? And what's he going to say?
I'll keep Mum. Preston. Only get me there. I don't want to die.
How are you going to keep Mum? You've got to tell them some kind of a story, and whatever it is, they're going to investigate.
But you gotta get me there.
Me driving up to a hospital at 5:30 in the morning, delivering a guy with a bullet hole in him. Anyhow, our orders are to stick here till we get the word.
Then this man will be dead before night.
Okay. So he'll be dead.
You can't let me die. Listen, Preston.
I can't do anything about it. I have to carry out orders the same as you.
If you don't get him to a hospital, it'll be the same as murdering him. You've got enough to answer for already, Preston.
Maybe. But you won't have the fun of hearing me answer.
Listen, Preston, you've always been a good guy. I'm tired.
And from Sunday afternoon, March 13th, 1938, Dr. Christian, starring Jean Hersholdt, on this Monday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We'll have the news from 85 years ago today, but first these messages from your favorite station. Just when you thought it couldn't get any better, Mike Lindell and MyPillow launching the MyPillow 2.0. Now, when Mike invented MyPillow, it had everything you could want in a pillow. Now, nearly 20 years later, he's discovered a new technology that makes MyPillow even better. Of course, the patented adjustable fill of the original MyPillow, but now with brand new fabric with a temperature-regulating thread, it's the softest, smoothest, and coolest pillow you'll ever own. Say goodbye to tossing and turning and flipping your pillow over in the middle of the night. And more great news on the MyPillow 2.0 buy one, get one free offer with my promo code Wyatt. MyPillow 2.0 is 100% made in the USA, 10-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio podcast square to receive the MyPillow 2.0 buy one, get one free offer. Use my promo code Wyatt or call 1-800-928-4715. Thanks for tuning in on this Monday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We're listening to an episode of Dr. Christian starring Jean Hersholdt as it was broadcast on Sunday, March 13th, 1938. In the newspapers of that Sunday 84 years ago, these were some of the headlines. Adolf Hitler rode in triumph into Vienna today and proclaimed to the nation that the German Empire, which he has expanded from the Baltic to the Italian border, will never again be disrupted by its enemies. Hitler proclaiming over the radio, whatever happens, this German Reich will never again fall asunder. Nobody can force it from the road. No threat, no misery, no violence can ever cause this oath to be broken. We are now 74 million persons in one Reich. Nobody can turn us from our way. The German annexation of Austria will be followed by intensification of British rearmament. That from Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, who told a crowded House of Commons in a vigorous statement on foreign affairs. Chamberlain denounced Germany's seizure of Austria as deserving the severest condemnation and promised increases in Great Britain's already tremendous rearmament program. Chamberlain excoriated Germany, declaring the methods adopted throughout these events call for the severest condemnation and administered a profound shock to all who are interested in the preservation of European peace. Italian Premier Benito Mussolini telegraphed Adolf Hitler, emphasizing the friendship between Italy and Germany and the strength of the Rome-Berlin axis. The message, which was in reply to one which Hitler sent from Linz, thanking Mussolini for remaining steadfast and saying, "I shall never forget this of you." Mussolini replied, said, "My attitude has been determined by the friendship between our two nations consecrated within the Axis." Congressman George Holden Tinkham, the congressman from Massachusetts, charged in a House speech today that President Roosevelt's billion-dollar naval expansion is a war bill and contemplates parallel action with Great Britain. Speaking as an opponent of the bill, Dinkum read a copyrighted United Press dispatch from London, which quoted Winston Churchill as asserting in Parliament that Great Britain has excellent arrangements with the United States. Tinkham asked, how can it be possible he said that no arrangement has been made by this country? He referred apparently to the opening speech of Chairman Carl Vinson, the Democrat of Georgia, of the House Naval Affairs Committee, who had quoted from the statements of Secretary of State Cordell Hull, asserting no agreements had been made with any nation. If anyone in this government has made such arrangements, be he the President or the Secretary of State, Tinkham said, he is disloyal to the United States and traitorous to this country. France reported to have assured Czechoslovakia today that she would honor all her commitments to that country. A diplomatic source reported that the assurance was given at a meeting of Premier Leon Blum, Foreign Minister Joseph Paul Boncourt, and Ambassador Stefan Oski of Czechoslovakia. Charles Corbin, the French ambassador, was understood to have informed Great Britain of France's determination to respect scrupulously the Franco-Czech alliance should Prague be threatened. A cooperative movement designed to stabilize distribution, employment, and investment offered to the Senate Unemployment and Relief Committee as a positive remedy for distress among the idle. E.R. Bowen, General Secretary of the Cooperative League, filed a statement with the committee asserting that the cooperative move in such countries as Finland and Sweden has been a vital factor in the practically complete elimination of unemployment. Farmers, truck drivers, and commission men from a Chicago produce mart today acclaimed their protege, 21-year-old telephone operator Harriet Griess, who made her debut last night in Grand Opera. She sang the role of Gilda in Rigoletto with a new group, the Chicago International Opera Company. Miss Griess is the daughter of immigrant Lithuanian parents. She first attracted attention at the East Water Street Market, where she had practiced singing at her switchboard in a produce firm. Though some of the day's top news stories, as reported in the newspapers of Sunday, March 13th, 1938, on your radio, Dr. Christian. The conclusion you'll hear next on this Monday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station. Thanks for tuning in on this Monday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We're listening to an episode of Dr. Christian starring Jean Hersholdt as it was broadcast on Sunday, March 13th, 1938. In the newspapers of that Sunday 84 years ago, these were some of the headlines. Adolf Hitler rode in triumph into Vienna today and proclaimed to the nation that the German Empire, which he has expanded from the Baltic to the Italian border, will never again be disrupted by its enemies. Hitler proclaiming over the radio, whatever happens, this German Reich will never again fall asunder. Nobody can force it from the road. No threat, no misery, no violence can ever cause this oath to be broken. We are now 74 million persons in one Reich. Nobody can turn us from our way. The German annexation of Austria will be followed by intensification of British rearmament. That from Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, who told a crowded House of Commons in a vigorous statement on foreign affairs. Chamberlain denounced Germany's seizure of Austria as deserving the severest condemnation and promised increases in Great Britain's already tremendous rearmament program. Chamberlain excoriated Germany, declaring the methods adopted throughout these events called for the severest condemnation and administered a profound shock to all who are interested in the preservation of European peace. Italian Premier Benito Mussolini telegraphed Adolf Hitler, emphasizing the friendship between Italy and Germany and the strength of the Rome-Berlin axis. The message, which was in reply to one which Hitler sent from Linz, thanking Mussolini for remaining steadfast and saying, "I shall never forget this of you." Mussolini replied, said, "My attitude has been determined by the friendship between our two nations consecrated within the Axis." Congressman George Holden Tinkham, the congressman from Massachusetts, charged in a House speech today that President Roosevelt's billion-dollar naval expansion is a war bill and contemplates parallel action with Great Britain. Speaking as an opponent of the bill, Dinkum read a copyrighted United Press dispatch from London, which quoted Winston Churchill as asserting in Parliament that Great Britain has excellent arrangements with the United States. Tinkham asked, how can it be possible he said that no arrangement has been made by this country? He referred apparently to the opening speech of Chairman Carl Vinson, the Democrat of Georgia, of the House Naval Affairs Committee, who had quoted from the statements of Secretary of State Cordell Hull, asserting no agreements had been made with any nation. If anyone in this government has made such arrangements, be he the President or the Secretary of State, Tinkerton said, he is disloyal to the United States and traitorous to this country. France reported to have assured Czechoslovakia today that she would honor all her commitments to that country. A diplomatic source reported that the assurance was given at a meeting of Premier Leon Blum, Foreign Minister Joseph Paul Boncourt, and Ambassador Stefan Oski of Czechoslovakia. Charles Corbin, the French ambassador, was understood to have informed Great Britain of France's determination to respect scrupulously the Franco-Czech alliance should Prague be threatened. A cooperative movement designed to stabilize distribution, employment, and investment offered to the Senate Unemployment and Relief Committee as a positive remedy for distress among the idle. E.R. Bowen, General Secretary of the Cooperative League, filed a statement with the committee asserting that the cooperative move in such countries as Finland and Sweden has been a vital factor in the practically complete elimination of unemployment. Farmers, truck drivers, and commission men from a Chicago produce mart today acclaimed their protege, 21-year-old telephone operator Harriet Griess, who made her debut last night in Grand Opera. She sang the role of Gilda in Rigoletto with a new group, the Chicago International Opera Company. Miss Griess is the daughter of immigrant Lithuanian parents. She first attracted attention at the East Water Street Market, where she had practiced singing at her switchboard in a produce firm. Though some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Sunday, March 13th, 1938, on your radio, Dr. Christian. The conclusion you'll hear next on this Monday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station. On Tuesday's Classic Radio Theater, Dick Powell as Richard Diamond, private detective. From 71 years ago, March 14th, 1952, the Dixon case. The search for blackmailer Lewis Dixon begins so Diamond's client can beat him up. There's more to this search than meets the eye. That's coming up on Tuesday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. But now the conclusion of our Monday edition. Jean Hersholdt is Dr. Christian from 85 years ago, March 13th, 1938.
It's going to be all over with me. All over. Give me a break.
Is this what you want, Doc?
Yes, that's it. You're going up for kidnapping, Preston, just as sure as you're standing here. And your boss, whoever he is, won't be able to get you off. Well, I'm offering you a chance to clear yourself. That bargain still stands. If you let me...
You heard what I said. All of you. It's out. And if Moran's going to die, well, he's going to die.
How's Moran doing in there?
Well, the doc's been working on him. He's still alive, but he'll go any minute now.
A long day. What time you got?
7:15.
We'll be getting word from the chief pretty quick. Maybe we can turn Christian loose and get out of here.
You can't tell. That trial might drag on, and we'll be stuck here for days. That's what bothers me.
I don't see nothing to be bothered about.
You wouldn't. But an hour from now, Moran will be dead. Suppose somebody finds him here.
So what? We didn't kill him.
No. All we got to say is the guy staggered in and died here, and we just let him lay. They'll believe that, won't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I begin to get it.
Marvelous.
Looks kind of bad. But the chief can fix it. He's got the political setup of this state in the palm of his hand. All he's got to do is say what he wants and he gets it.
Yeah, I know.
He can make them all lay down and roll over. And what's more, he's got brains.
Well, I wish I was out of it, that's all.
Out of it? You gone nuts? But we're just starting. Another year we're going to control the milk business over the whole state. And after that, we'll move in on some other business. They can't stop us.
No?
No. Because we're all in the clear, inside the law. We got a right to organize a farmers' protective organization, ain't we? And we got a right to charge dues. Nothing wrong with that. If some farmer takes a notion he don't want to join up and his truck gets wrecked in the road, well, it's just an accident.
If it's inside the law, why does the boss keep us here and keep out of sight himself? Why does he keep undercover?
We don't have to bother about what the chief does. He knows his business. He's smart.
Well, he'll have to be plenty smart to get us out of a kidnapping charge. That Christian was right.
The chief can get us out of anything.
Yeah? Well, here's something to try out on that marvelous set of brains of yours. Why have these orders always been no killings?
Well...
And don't strain yourself.
Well, why?
Well, because nobody can beat a murder rap forever. That's why. Here, wait a minute. I'll get that. Hello? Yeah? Yes?
Who is it?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, we're all through then, huh? Okay.
What was it?
Word from the boss. Marvin's been acquitted.
Yeah? Hey, say, look. Then he must have talked. He must have spilled the whole works.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Where does that leave us?
You tell me. All the dope I got was to let Christian go.
We'd better lamb out of here before they get a line on us and lamb fast.
What good'll that do? They've already got a line on us. Doc Christian knows who we are.
Yeah, that's right. Well, anyway, there's no use sticking around here any longer. No?
Wait a minute. Take it easy. I've got an idea. Dr. Christian gave us his word of honor last night and kept it. Maybe he'll keep it again. It's worth trying.
Come on, we're wasting time.
I said take it easy. Now get this and get it straight. Don't say anything about Marvin being acquitted. Don't say anything about Marvin at all. Just keep your mouth shut.
Okay.
Never mind. Now lock the door and tell the doc to come out here.
Hey, Doc, will you come in here a second?
How's Moran getting along, Doctor?
He's pretty low. It's only a matter of time now.
Well, look. I'm kind of sorry for that guy. And Mac and me have been talking it over. A while ago, you offered to make a bargain with us. You said if we'd let you go, you'd promise to forget all about this. Does that still stand?
I said if you'd let me go so I could get back to the trial.
You can get back to the trial. Maybe it isn't over yet. It's certain to run a couple of days, and then you'll have time to take care of Moran, too.
It's pretty late to do anything for Moran.
Well, you can do what you can. Honest, I didn't think Moran was that bad. I thought you were bluffing, but now that I see he's...
What do you want me to promise?
Just what you said. Forget you've been kidnapped. Forget all about us. Fix things up by sending a wire to your office and tell them you've been called out of town.
How do you know I'll keep my word if I do promise?
If we didn't think you'd keep it, we wouldn't be making you this proposition. We're willing to give you a break if you'll give us a break. Well, what do you say?
All right. All right, I promise.
Word of honor?
Word of honor.
Okay. That suits me. Well, the shack is yours. You can leave any time you want. We'll be getting along.
Yeah, and remember one...
Shut up and come on.
Hello? 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 Yes, I want a number, but I haven't a phone book. No, don't bother with information. I'm in a hurry. Get me to Memorial Hospital. Hello? 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 Oh, hello, Judy. Now, wait. Nothing's happened to me. No, I'm all right. Yes, I'm all right. I'm in the city on an important case. Yes, I'm right here at the Memorial Hospital. I couldn't call you any sooner. I've been in the operating room. Yes, an operation. Emergency case. That's why I couldn't get to the trial. How's it going? Acquitted? Well, that is news. Listen, Judy. I've got to go back to my patient. Everything's all right. I'll call you tomorrow or the next day. Hello? Hello, Judy. Yes, I'm still at the Memorial Hospital. I forgot to phone you yesterday. I was pretty busy. Oh, he's getting along all right. Going to pull through. Listen, Judy, I want you to come to the city tomorrow. I've got a little work for you. Yes, you meet me at the hospital. And say, Judy, bring Bob Marvin along with you. I've got a little job for both of you.
Clark speaking. Oh, yes, of course. Tell Dr. Christian to come right in. Fine. Come in, Dr. Christian.
Good morning, Mr. Clark.
Well, where are the others? My secretary said Judy Price was with you.
Yes, she'll be here in a minute.
Well, sit down. I haven't seen you since the day before the Marvin trial. No, you had us worried for a while.
Well, you seem to get along all right without me.
Oh, yes. It really wasn't such a difficult case. We were able to prove that Marvin wasn't driving the truck, and they acquitted him.
Well, everyone was quite impressed with the way you handled the case.
Oh, it was nothing.
A famous attorney like yourself giving up important affairs to come to a little town.
I was glad to do it.
Yes. I understand that when you wired Mrs. Marvin and offered to defend Bob, you mentioned that Mr. Marvin had been a friend of yours.
A very dear friend.
But you'd never met Mrs. Marvin, though.
No, I knew Marvin a good many years ago, before he died.
And he helped you in your fight to get Cambino and Cerrone acquitted?
That's right. Took rather an important part in it.
It's funny, I've been going through the police files in that case, and I don't seem to find Mr. Marvin mentioned. You wouldn't have some other reason for defending Bob Marvin, would you?
Other reason?
Well, you've always been a very great champion for us common folks, Mr. Clark. You've always been on our side and on the side of the workers and the laboring people. You've fought for us and protected us against the big interests. You've always crusaded for us. And when there wasn't anything to crusade for, you've always been able to conjure up something. And it's all proved very profitable for you. Not only in money, but in power. Why, they say you're the most powerful man in this state. And you used that power to create and run one of the most despicable, cowardly extortion schemes that has ever come into existence. A racket which has made millions by victimizing, blackmailing, and blackjacking poor dairy farmers.
What are you talking about?
I think you know what I'm talking about. You're the man behind the Farmers Protective Organization.
You're crazy.
Yes, I am. A little. Oh, I would have seen through you from the very beginning. I would have guessed why you were so anxious to defend Bob Marvin. You didn't care anything about him, but you were afraid he would talk. You had to get him off in order to keep him quiet. Well, you overlooked the fact that he can still talk, and he has.
Do you suppose anybody would believe Bob Marvin, next jailbird, take his word against mine? And if he starts talking too much, I'll have him committed to an insane asylum. And I can do it, too.
You can't have me committed to an insane asylum. And I can do a little talking myself. I can tell a little story of kidnapping
No. Your story's already been set, Dr. Christian. On the night before the trial, you were on your way to the city, and your car broke down. Incidentally, the car was found the next day on the side of the road. Well, when your car went haywire, 2 men came along, and you asked them for a ride into town. And those 2 men are willing to go on the witness stand and swear to that.
If you mean Mac and Preston, they won't swear to anything. They're gone.
I dare say I can find them. And even if I can't, I have a telegram in my files, a telegram you yourself sent to Judy Price. And in it, you yourself stated that you'd been called to the city.
But I sent that
And
because...
I can prove you called up Judy Price and told her the same story over the telephone. And now you want to change it to kidnapping.
you know very well why
Look, Dr. Christian, I've been pretty easy with you, but I'm getting tired of you messing around. And I'm warning you to keep out of my affairs. If you don't, I've got another way of shutting you up. And it's pretty permanent. Is that clear?
Yes.
Either you and Bob Marvin have a leg to stand on. You can't prove a thing. Now, you'd better get back to River's End, where you belong.
May I have Judy come in for a minute? She'd like to say hello to you.
Yeah? Go ahead.
Judy?
Yes?
Will you and Mr. Nolan come in?
Hello, Mr. Clark.
Good morning, Miss Price.
And Mr. Clark, this is Mr. Nolan. It's really too bad that Bob Marvin isn't here. But he had a date with the district attorney this morning.
I'm rather busy, Dr. Christian.
We won't take a minute. Judy just has something to read. She took it down herself. Go ahead, Judy.
Statement made by Charles Moran at Memorial Hospital.
Charles Moran?
One of your milk truck smashers. I was able to save his life. So in return, he made a complete confession of the whole racket.
I never heard of Charles Moran.
Well, he knows all about you. It's right there in his statement. And sworn to. I think when he gets into court...
Give me that.
Here. Oh.
Well, Mr. Moran's confession won't do you very much good now.
No, that copy won't. But, of course, I left the original with the district attorney.
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You've got me all wrong. There's been a mistake.
There have been several mistakes, and you made them all. You made a mistake when you thought you could use political power to beat the law. You made a mistake when you imagined that you could keep under cover. And you made a very bad mistake when you turned to kidnapping.
But I can explain all this.
You'll have the opportunity to explain it to a judge and 12 jurymen. That's why Mr. Nolan is here. He has a warrant for your arrest.
It would be about a year after this program aired that Jean Hersholdt helped form the Motion Picture Relief Fund to support industry employees with medical care when they were down on their luck. The fund was used to create the Motion Picture Country House and Hospital in Woodland Hills, California, and it led to the creation in 1956 of the Jean Hersholdt Humanitarian Award, an honorary Academy Award given to an individual in the motion picture industry whose humanitarian efforts have brought credit to the industry. So that's why there is a Jean Hersholdt Humanitarian Award, because of his work with the Motion Picture Relief Fund and the Motion Picture Country House and Hospital. Jean Hersholdt, March 13th, 1938, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for tuning in. Thank this station. Support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every Monday here on your favorite station. Miss a day, you don't have to miss a single show. All of our shows are available on demand at classicradio.stream. That's classicradio.stream. Stream our shows. Learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can contact me there, find our social media links, and if you're so inclined, you can buy me a copy to help us acquire additional classic radio theater programs and maintain our distribution channels. That's at classicradio.stream. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please tell all your friends the greatest radio shows of all time are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.